Hello, everybody out there in comic book land. My name is George Serrano, aka The Don, and if you're listening and watching this, you can only be here for one reason: a brand new episode of Major Discourse, where we talk to the latest and greatest in comic books and comic book media. And boy, do we have a special episode for you today. I am joined by the jack of all trades himself, Jack Richardson. Say hi to the nice people.
Ahoy, hoy.
This wouldn't be a conversation without fantastic Frank Jerome. Frank, say hi to the people.
No.
And then, like I said again, we are in rarefied air because we are talking today to the Sultan of Sunderain, the Wonderkin of Washington, one of Gertrude's favorite guardians, the dastardly darling of the drawing world, a favorite friend of fairyland, and one of the innovators behind this new image renaissance. Brett, don't call me Mr. Bean. Sir, how are you?
Oh, I'm great. George, I don't know how long you worked on that, but that was pretty epically awesome. So however long it took you to like look in the mirror in the morning and go, this is it.
Yeah. I think it was like a Hulk Hogan promo. Like, let me tell you something, brother.
Oh, yeah. Awesome job. Thank you very much. Jack, Frank, George, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, we're loving it, and the world is currently loving Dork number one. Selling out across the nation. A second printing already coming up. Currently having one of the best number one books in recent history. A well-earned accomplishment with your body of work. I am very interested in sort of the journey that got you here, but more specifically, this idea that you were someone who managed to reach a certain point in media, in art, in artistry, that you would even think other people would be jealous of it or envy, but didn't necessarily find yourself loving those spaces all that much. This entire venture for Comic Book Click is something that I've dedicated more of my time to as I've grown older, as I realized myself that the only thing that really matters is what makes you happy. How did you end up sort of reaching that sort of conclusion? And talk to me a little bit about that bet that you made on yourself to leave a world that many may have considered you have already conquered, to go and try your hand at a brand new landscape.
Well, I would say that I like to trip myself on purpose because the only way to walk is to trip yourself and catch yourself. Like it's literally watch a baby. You have to trip yourself and then get your foot out there. And then that's how walking is. And walking leads to running. And then, so to me, I've done it for a long time. I didn't realize it was a soft skill that a lot of people don't have, that fear and getting over it and taking those steps and jumping into the unknown or walking down a dark path you don't know where it's going to go. I just assume everybody else did it. And I've realized over my 50 years of life that it's a skill I slowly developed. And now it's a muscle. So it's just like, oh, now it's not a big deal to me compared to when I first started doing it. And that started out as a 3D environment artist, making SOCOM Navy SEAL games. And then I had just gotten married to my wife, and I asked her, like, can I restart my career and try to be a concept artist? And she's like, yeah. So I went upstairs, quit, and then within a month we were packed up and we were living in like a crappy little studio apartment in LA. And I was working at GameStop selling my own games that had just come out with Sony.
Boy.
It was humbling and humiliating, especially when somebody comes up and buys it. And you're like, "Did you know I made this game?" And they're like, "Right, buddy, sure."
Yeah,
the guy at GameStop selling my game at Christmas time made Siphon Filter. Yeah, sure, buddy. And okay, right, thank you. Have a nice day.
Right.
So you take each one of those moments and you build on them to where it gets easier each time. So you do it and you go, oh, that wasn't so bad. It was a little bit of an ego hit, but it wasn't so bad. Dust yourself off, stand up, and do the next one. So you go from school, and then the first time you get laid off, and you stand back up again, and then we moved to Portugal and back. So each one of these big steps you take and trip yourself, you start to trust that you'll find a way out of whatever mess you put yourself in.
Yeah.
In the same way that a piece of paper is for people. I remember very early on looking at a blank piece of paper is scary, right? Whether you're
Yeah.
writing or drawing, it's very scary because you're like, uh, endless possibilities, hitting a bullseye in the dark. What do I do? Holy crap. Can I swear? I just want to make
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
George,
Yeah.
okay. All right. Some people are like, oh, we don't really. But that was you don't realize how important that is to sort of retrain your brain into problem solving instead of getting it right. If
Right.
you're problem solving, it frees you of worry about nailing it on the first try, second try, third try, 50th try. You're just problem solving, and each step is part of the solution
Hmm.
of that problem. And so it frees you up to kind of go down each one of these paths and to sort of just keep taking these big monumental jumps. And they just don't feel as big anymore when you get a little bit older and you've done enough of them. Like if you held on to it
Yeah. Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
just started doing it at 50, that's a big jump because you've got a long time to like think about and worry about. And plus you have a lot of stuff with family and you accumulated a lot more bills. You've accumulated a lot more things than when
Yeah.
you're young and you can jump and like, I'm going to live forever.
Right. Right. Right.
And so that's been sort of the really the soft skill I didn't realize that I was developing
Right.
until now where I go, oh, that benefited me more than anything else to make these big jumps and bets on yourself. So
That's interesting because you often hear the phrase like everyone needs to get punched in the face once, right? And they learn to not fear,
yeah,
confrontation.
yeah.
And it feels like you are ready to throw hands with life. You know that life is going to swing, anyway, and you're just kind of going through the obstacles to get what you want at the end at the end of the day. And to speak to the fantasy that you seem to gravitate towards, it feels like you have picked up all of these soft skills that are helping you in the current realm that you're in, even if you didn't know you were going to end up in that realm, even if you didn't weren't necessarily aware that this is the place you're going to end up being.
Yeah, you just sort of you open doors and you go through them. And I try to tell students and I try to tell people is like, don't worry, you'll use the information. You're either going to use the information to go, oh my gosh, this is the door I wanted to go through, or you gather information that this is close, but it's not exactly right. So video games was that for me, TV and film. Again, it's everybody else's mecca, right? And then
Yeah,
I would do it for years, and then somewhere in the back of my head was like, it's not it's not exactly what you want. It's not exactly. Let's okay, so how do you pivot? How do you move into that new space? And so I always try to think positively. I always try to think like in the positive, not get too cynical. I knew too many people that end their careers early because of cynicism and
yeah,
and doom and depression. And there's always a bit of that because as artists we also pendulum swing. Um,
yeah,
but at the end of the day, I always say like you can always have a pity party for one for a day, and then you got to put your big boy pants on and get back to work, right?
yeah,
So everybody has those down moments and stuff, but then you just got to pick yourself up and move on, and that's where the cynicism and a little bit of hope comes in,
yeah,
where you go like, okay, now what? I got kicked in the junk, stand back up, work it out, yeah, and then and then you just kind of move forward. So yeah, that's happened everywhere. I got talked out of doing comics very early on from my parents
my
and
gosh.
and a couple of professionals who were very bitter. But when you're
Hmm.
young, you don't realize that's who they are. You
Yeah,
just kind of go, here's somebody who's made it, and they're smarter than I am, so I better listen.
100%.
And then you do all this other stuff, and then slowly, as you age and you sort of learn, you go, oh, these people don't have my best interest at heart. They have their own interest at heart, or something's
Right.
happened to them, or something's gone on in their life. And then you sort of break it all down and go, no. And then I asked my wife, I was like, hey, do you mind if I make less money, restart my career again? We've already done it like twice. Can I
Hmm.
restart, pivot, and do what I think I feels correct to me, which is make comics, even if we don't make any money. And she's the biggest support that I have, and she's like, yeah, of course, because you've found your way out of everything. So you
Yeah.
found a way to at least make it okay. Um, and it's like, I don't worry if it really fails. It's not like we're gonna, I'm gonna take care of the kids. Not everybody's gonna be living in a ditch because of
Right.
comics.
Fair.
So it's like, don't worry, I will be able to pull the plug if it comes down to it, because I'm not one of those headstrong people. But it's like I'd like to at least try and see because it feels my truth. compared to other people's truth, that one was then felt like the most my truth at the end of the day. So
That's interesting. I had seen a couple of your interviews and had heard your story and felt a certain kinship because when I was younger, I was super into writing, and I legitimately had like my fifth grade teacher pull me aside and be like, "There's no money in writing." Like I've known writers who were left penniless on the street, so it like trained my brain to do jobs for money, specific jobs for
yeah,
money. The easiest way to get out of New York for me was the military, which was nothing, was not up my sleeve, but I did it, I tried it, and I've
yeah,
tried a bunch of different professions for money, but ultimately I just love talking about this medium. I just love writing
yeah.
about it and talking about this medium, and um, since I have put all my eggs in this basket, doors have been opening. Is that surprising for you every time you seemingly are going in a direction like this, taking a chance that you are being rewarded? Is this, can you feel the universe sort of giving you these signs that this is the proper path to take?
Um, no, because I would honestly, when I decided to jump down this road, uh, it didn't matter, quite honestly, if any of you joined me. Like
Interesting.
this
I love
was,
that. I love that.
I had gotten to that point. Well, I had like 20 years in Hollywood and film and video games. All I've done is bend over backwards to make other people's dreams come true. Help them out with their process, help them out with their character design, make them loads of money. I've done that. And then when I finally decided, like, this is my time, I'm going to do this whether it's going to be successful or not.
Yeah.
So I had beaten out all these plots and to go like, this is what I'm going to do. This is how much time and energy and money I have to devote because independent comics is you're paying for everything yourself. I said,
Yeah.
okay, this is important to me. Live or die. This is important. And so the rest of it's like it's nice and it's awesome. My world doesn't feel that different.
Yeah.
Because it's all internet right now. Like I haven't been to a convention,
Yes, yes, yes.
and I'm still always under deadlines. I still have two projects I have to kick out, and I'm still
Right.
stepping on Legos and making peanut butter jelly sandwiches for an
Taking out
angry
the
6-year-old.
trash. Yeah,
Yeah,
taking out
so
the
it's like,
trash and
oh,
stuff.
nothing's really changed in my life,
Yeah, yeah.
you know. So, but it's very exciting to know that other people feel that way too, and they have accepted what I do. Um, I'm a little bit of an emotional person, so it's really hard for me to take that much love and attention,
Yes, yes.
as well as in the spotlight, I have to learn about the other side of that, which is the negative side too, the trolls and the people angry and stuff that
Right.
I can't control, that I have nothing to do with, is also very hard to take in because up to this point, I could talk to everybody. I could get on social media. I could answer every single question and help people out. And it would mostly be like former students and stuff. It would mostly be like,
Yeah.
oh, hey, Brett, what pen do you use? Da 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 da. You know, can I help out with this? I'm like, yeah, that's Sketchbook Pro. Blah blah blah. But now that my entire world has sort of changed, it's a whole learning process to not be able to help in the positive and negative and just go, I have to refigure, and that's a new thing that I'm just starting to get used to because again, it's only been 3 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Only 3 weeks.
100%.
It's crazy. So I'm not used to anything.
It shows you how fast life can happen to you. And
Yeah.
I think you've gone on a record of just kind of saying that a lot of this journey is has been helped with just great people in your life, whether it be creative team members, your wife, like you said, who supported you. How important do you think that is, especially in the creative space, to have the right people around you and the right, I guess, intentions when you go towards a project?
It would be like 500% of like there's there's you working,
Mhm,
but you cannot work in a vacuum. You cannot create and find that space without the people around you. You know,
mhm,
either having your back, helping you out, or just emotional support. And so I'd say finding your tribe is very important. And I don't mean that as in tribalism and nationalism or anything like that, but
right.
finding the people that are within. I'm a monkey, right? And they
Uh-huh.
say like you only have certain circle of space for people, and then
Yeah.
exponentially you sort of like can't really keep track. As soon as the circle gets bigger, you have like three layers of it.
Yeah.
So, however you handle your inner circle as a monkey, go, these are the people that get all of me, or at least all of my good and my bad, or my fears and my worries and concerns. And then outside, those are the people that help you and they can help figure out the next side of things, and then you have the other ones and you have the bigger ones. So I think it's extremely important. It has done nothing but help me out through my entire career, let alone just in asking questions. There's people I can trust, and there are other comic book artists. And I don't like name dropping. What I do is I get really nervous about talking about myself. So I name
Right.
drop so
Yeah.
I can talk about
Divert.
other creators
Yeah.
and go, let's talk about this person and this person because that's easier. I like talking about them instead of myself. This is bullshit.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and but it sounds like name dropping. I'm like, I swear it's not.
Yeah.
But it's easier to talk about how great some of the people, like all the original um, cover artists that I got, it was all on purpose, and they've done nothing but help me in so many serious ways of like, how do I interpret this? How do I understand this? What's this process? Because this is trial by fire. I have no idea how to make comics. I had no idea. Honestly, I don't even know how the process works at Image. I just know I
Right.
got the okay and I signed it and I was like, fucking A, I got an Image comic. That's all I've ever
Yeah.
wanted. Let's go.
Yeah.
And I just started working. And people would ask me, well, what about this within this? And it's like, I have no idea. I'll,
We'll
I'll
cross
jump over
that
that bridge
bridge.
when I
Yeah.
get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because to me, my goals were so in tune with what are the big bucket list things that I wanted. And I wanted an Image comic and I wanted to make my own comic that felt right to me. I wanted to make something that I keep looking at the walls of comics that I see and go, I don't see the one that I want to read.
Yeah.
And so I was like, between that and you get Image Comics, I'm like, okay, all
Yeah.
the other stuff will get figured out. I'm not worried about any of that other stuff because the two big things, those are kind of it for me. So, yeah.
Yeah. Having that, I believe, just that mentality of just being willing to take on whatever the obstacles and challenges are, especially if you can have the self-awareness of saying, I don't know. Like, it's not like you're coming in with preconceived notions of how this all is supposed to work. You're kind of open to that. And the collaboration has to be empowering, especially by people who have been in the space for as long as they have. I love this. I love your work in this fantasy space as well as your work with Fairyland, and
Thank you.
it feels so familiar, right? As you know, I hate to use the word tropes, but like the stuff that you deal with in fantasy, right? That you expect to deal with for a certain level in fantasy, and then having those things spun around, and then even you can't help but read Fairyland, know you worked on Fairyland, and come in with a little bit of Fairyland into Dork. And then you even managed to
I can see
spin
that.
that on its head. You're right. Those expectations that people have of that, where you had in Fairyland a very let's say active protagonist, and
Yeah.
then you had like a passenger that's kind of like, hey, you need to chill out. Where you have like this spin here, where it is the protagonist that really wants to kind of lay back and be chill, and then the very very violent shield over here that
Right.
loves to get bloodlust. And I know future issues would will flesh all this stuff out. But was it important for you to be distinct from Fairyland? Was it like something that was on your mind where you're like, while writing Fairyland, were you always in the back of your mind kind of saving things for Dork that you knew would be something coming
Well,
up?
well, to give props, Scotty Young is the one who wrote I Hate Fairyland.
Yeah, yeah.
So Scotty would write those ones. I created Dork way before Scotty contacted me.
Oh wow.
So this was in development of what I wanted to do for a bit. And like 2019 is when I started kind of to build the pitch up. I was
Mm,
asked to change it for some for some book publishers,
yeah.
and I was like, ooh, I that just changes the entire idea. So let's think of something else and not
Right.
take this thing and try to like jam it into the the round peg. Um, and so I just kind of sat on it, and then Scotty asked me to draw I Hate Fairyland as he wrote it,
Hmm.
and I said yes because I thought it would be a good springboard, and also honestly like gather more resources than his fans and stuff, and go
Yeah.
like, let's see if I can kick this tail. And I thought it would be like 5 issues. I thought he'd be bored of me within 5 issues. I'm like, I'll do 5 issues, and then he'll kick me off and find somebody else. And then we ended up being 2.5 years, 20 issues. But
Yeah.
um, and then I got back to Dork, so it was already kind of already set up before I got into Fairyland space. I think there's just I think you always kind of butt up against the Lethal Weapon Laurel and Hardy sort of like if you have like this dual tandem kind of people going at each other and their opposites attract. My wife and are actually opposites attract too. So
Awesome.
I think there's just something that's a part of life that people understand, and it's just something that's interpreted really easy and go, oh yeah, here's these two people that are thrown together and they kind of have to deal with it, and then the magic is almost in between those two things. You know,
Yeah.
that's where the storyline is. I also loved the Hound and Arya Stark. So it's like
Yeah. Nice.
it's the magic in between them compared to the two separate characters. I feel like the relationship is the difference between them, and that's the interesting part. So
Yeah, especially if you're never challenged, right? If you never keep people around you that have opposing opinions, then you're
yeah,
never
for sure.
challenged and you never grow. So I'm waiting. I'm very waiting to see who's going to have the bigger effect on each other when it comes to these two. But Jack, I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, hi. It's awesome to speak to you. I've loved
Yeah, you
Dork
too.
and I've been a big fan of like a lot of other stuff you've made. Yeah,
Thank you.
I guess like my introduction to your work is actually through your Darkstalkers covers,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Darkstalkers versus Cross Street Fighter, because I'm a huge fan of that series. And you've done quite a few now, so I guess was Darkstalkers doing those variant covers? Was that like a bucket list for you? Like, were those characters like special to you? Were you a fan of the games?
I was a huge fan of Street Fighter, more than Darkstalkers for me. Sorry,
Okay.
but when actually my bucket list was working with Marshall Dillon. He's the editor over there. He's a really great guy.
Mm,
And I met him at ALA, which is a library association thing for like book stuff. And I
Hmm.
met him. We had a nice conversation, and it was just two people that were nerding out on comics and stuff. And I bought one of their books about how to interpret manga signs in comics,
okay.
and it breaks down like what each one of them mean. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I don't know much about that. Let me buy this book. And we ended up having this lovely conversation. And then you go away and you're like, nice meeting you. I'll never see you again. Bye. Um, and I didn't even know he was like the editor doing it because I
Mm,
don't network that way. I network with humans. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
network for jobs, you know.
Right, right, right.
Um, and then he ended up contacting me. He's like, "Hey, we're doing this series. Do you want to work on it?" And I'm like, "Oh, I was a huge Street Fighter fan. Yeah, let's do this thing." Um, and it was really cool because so I got to do a cover, and then we made a deal that I get to do an exclusive cover for myself, a cover for them that they get, and then I do one joke interior page. And that was what was intriguing is like, oh, I've never done that. It's one of these, oh, I'm going to fall forward. Let's see how I land. I have no idea what I'm doing. Great, let's do a joke page and let's see what happens. And so you start kicking ideas out. But all of that was done by Marshall and Udon. They went, hey, let's try this out with this guy, just to give a different flavor than the normal books that they were getting, just to
mm,
kind of break things up. And so I was the breakup, and it was fun. It was engaging, and trying to write something in like 6 panels and have it relate to. I wanted it to relate to the story and almost like sort of fourth wall sort of go like,
mm.
hey, I'm in on the joke. And so by the time you get to the end of it, it's like a little palate cleanser you can go walk away from.
Yeah.
Um, so it was a really fun, interesting challenge, and of course it was really nice. But so many things have happened since I was a Street Fighter guy that
Right.
Mm.
a lot of stuff has happened, a lot of things, a lot of costume changes. So
Right.
it was a lot of like, oh, okay, I got to do some research here. So
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I guess following on from that, then, like, is there like a dream Street Fighter character you'd love to like draw next for a cover? Or
I would, I like Blanca. I like,
oh
Yeah.
yes, yes.
yeah, I think Blanca would be one of my favorite ones. Dalsim was a really cool one too. Again, I'm the old school guy.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, so I think those two would probably. I like it a little bit more on the villainous side. You know,
Yeah,
whenever I
same,
would work with
same.
Disney, they'd ask like, "What kind of characters do you want to work on?" I said, "Don't give me the princess.
Right, right.
It's not going to be me, and it's not going to look good. You're going to hate it, and I'm going to hate doing it. So let's just move along out of that arena." So yeah, so that's the kind of stuff I like. A little bit edgy.
Okay, cool, cool. So, like, in your opinion, then, this is my final Street Fighter related question. What is your absolute favorite Street Fighter game? Like, which one?
I mean, it's 2 Turbo Edition.
Oh, yes.
It's the one that you can always go back to. It's still solid. It like all the hits are still solid. Everything's kind of works. And I try to get in a joke where it was all of the guys who didn't make it into the comic book.
Oh,
Um, and they found the head of Capcom's car,
yeah,
and they smashed it with the pipe.
right.
So the end panel was them beating his car up in Japan, and
Yeah.
then Udon was like, "I don't think that's gonna work." I was like, "Oh, okay." But I still was like, "Oh, that would have been funny to like find one of his cars. I'm sure he owns like
I
50
want.
of them. Just go,
I,
let's smash one of them."
I wonder if they held back on that because I don't know if you've seen, but they're coming out with a Street Fighter film, and that seems to be in the trailer that they're
Oh,
beating
I
up the
did. I
car
had no
in the
idea. I
film.
don't.
So maybe they
Oh,
were like,
okay.
"No, we
Maybe
can't.
that's
We're gonna keep. We're gonna hold on. That was
yeah.
an
We've
excellent
already done that
idea.
joke.
We're gonna hold on to it."
Great. I'm
Awesome
old
stuff.
news already. Ugh.
I'm telling you. You mentioned Arya Stark. I see that there's a lot of what, fantasy, right? How can you avoid Lord of the Rings and stuff comparisons? Are you reading, watching fantasy now? Is there anything that kind of stands out to you now as somebody a film, a television show that's kind of killing it in that realm of that genre? Or for those who like your series, is there any sort of recommendations you would give in that genre?
I mean, other than the classic one that started us all off, Lord of the Rings and that trilogy, and if you have kids, reading them The Hobbit is a good entry way for them as
Mm.
well. I have heard a lot of people are reading this book with their kids, which really excites me.
Yeah,
I mean, because each kid is different, right? Like you should
100%.
judge not the overall age, but like who your child is, right? Because
Yeah,
I've got an 11 and a 6 year old, and my 6 year old is ready, but my 11-year old has just flat out told me is like, there's a lot of things that I'm just not ready for. And so
interesting.
if you know your child and they know a little bit more about themselves, and you say you're in a safe space, you should always tell dad what you're ready for, then you can read to those children. But if they're ready for that sort of thing, yeah, I would say The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings one. I grew up on that the Rankin Bass Hobbit and Return of the King way back in the
Mm.
day. The animated films, those were my
Yes.
jam. I don't know if you can see them, but I have little 3D printed all of the cast of the
Oh,
Lord of the Rings back there in that
that's
thing.
pretty cool.
Um, that's where I would start. I just love all of it. It's really fun. I've been a little too busy to do anything right now, read wise
Yeah,
and watch wise. It's been a little bit tough. I'm also somebody that tries on purpose to take in things that are the opposite, so I can bring those in.
that makes
So if
sense.
I do nothing but read and watch fantasy, it all of that stuff will soak in and it'll be almost a one-to-one
Mm.
translation. And what I try to do is kind of when I make animated films for like these big companies, is I'm watching Aliens and Predator and like it's
Right.
almost like the opposite, so I can sort of just rebalance that
Mm.
out and take things in from other genres. So I'm not just kind of regurgitating the same stuff over and over again. So most of the themes and stuff that I have are from when I read them as a child and watched them over the years. Because I take it all in. Um, but it's the generalized sort of interpretation of all of it and all the fantasy movies of the 80s and 90s and like all the stuff. And like I haven't gone back and watched Willow, George Lucas's Ron
Yeah,
Howard
yeah.
Willow, but I know that there's a bunch of things that are socked away in my brain hole that I'm pulling from, going, I remember feeling this way about this. I remember feeling this way about this. And then it comes out in your own interpretation of it. But if all I do is study it, it'll be too close of a one-to-one translation. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking for myself, reading Dark, I got a lot of influences from like World of Warcraft and Warhammer. Like
Oh, okay.
even in the world of Dark, like the light and the dark, it definitely reminded me of like the Horde and the Alliance, even in like the colors scheming. Like
Oh, okay.
the light side used like the Alliance colors and dark side used is the Horde colors. And I just wondered like if there's any sort of like specific sci-fi franchises that not sci-fi, sorry, fantasy franchises that you drew from?
Um, Besides all of them, I will tell you, I've never actually played World of Warcraft,
Okay.
so
Oh
Yeah,
wow,
yeah,
I'm one of
yeah.
okay.
those. I've never done it. I think that there's an interpretation. So working in Hollywood and TV and film, there's a byline between all of these things
Hmm.
that just makes sense to a lot of
Mm,
people, and there's you can tell a unique story in a setting that people at least understand. And so I find like a lot of times when people try to go so far left of center, um, they lose an audience because their world building is so esoteric and crazy that you're like, I don't even know what you're saying here, right?
Yeah.
And so you allow things that people know, if you have the dark and the light. And talking with Jean, and breaking down what I thought was important for the colors, I had a bunch of things of like we're going to go for like classic Don Bluth for like
mm,
that sort of background sort of like look, and then on top of that there needs to be a distinction between light and dark. So there will be creatures and stuff on the light side as well. So it's not just what you interpret as Lord of the Rings. Here's your orcs. Here's your creatures. Here's your dark things, and it's a it's just factions of a side, and you can have a regular knight who went, yeah, I like the cut of these guys' jibs. I'm going to be on the dark side, and
Right.
you have the lights, right? So it's not good and evil. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not that
mm,
interpretation. It's just like, oh, there's two different groups that think the opposite of each other, and they think both sides think that they're correct and
mm.
righteous and just in their cause, which is the way that I see most of the world. So
Okay, okay,
yeah,
that's a cool answer.
yeah.
Frank. Oh, Frank found out that you, sir, may have
Oh,
read some Conan comics back in
Conan?
the day. Yeah,
Yeah, I've
Frank is
read some
our
Conan.
Frank is our resident Conan head.
Nice. That's the
Like,
original Conan right back there. That's
look at
original
that.
Conan.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a huge Conan fan. Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Yeah,
Also of
that's
Arnold Schwarzenegger too. So all the way through, all of the
oh yeah.
byline from. I mean, I think Savage Sword of Conan. I think it was number 119. Was the first issue. I skipped school and I went to the local Circle K in Seattle, Washington, and I bought ROM number one and
Yeah.
Savage Sword of Conan, and I played Ikari Warriors, and it was the best freaking day of my freaking life. And my
That
parents,
sounds like a dream day.
and on the walk home, you're walking down like John Travolta, you're like, this
Yeah.
is the best day
Yeah.
ever. And the cops pulled me over and they put me in the back of the car and they drove me home. It was like, you're in trouble. And my parents called the cops on me because they thought I was taken and stuff. And so the police had an APB out for this this crazy kid
With two
like
comics in his
where
bag. Walking
exactly,
around.
yeah. I was like, oh, I got in so much trouble, but boy, was that a good, sweet day.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, Conan, yes. So yes, I love Conan.
Yeah.
I don't want to, diverge too much. In your pile of books that you pick up, are you reading the new Savage Sword?
Oh, the new Savage Sword. No, I
Yes.
am reading Jim's run, the regular one, but I've
Oh,
not picked
so
up
good.
the oversized one. Yeah, yeah. So I do
Check
pick up his.
check out Savage Sword. You'll like it.
Okay,
I mean,
excellent.
there's a lot, all the different Howard stuff. It's not all just Conan. You got Bran McMorn and Solomon Kane, so you can read it and not feel like you're
Oh, nice.
stealing everything for your stuff.
Nice. Excellent, excellent. And now some of them are the old school ones, right? So that's still a new magazine, or is it all the
Yes,
old
there's
ones reprinted, right? There's two of
no
them
there
now, right?
there's two different ones where they're doing the old ones and they're coloring them,
Yes.
which to me defeats the purpose. It's decent coloring, but Savage Sword is black and white. And then there's the new ongoing, which is black and white, magazine size, old style, totally worth it.
Excellent. All right. All right. I'll add it to my pull box. Thanks a lot, Frank.
Sorry to cost you more money.
And Frank,
You
my
know,
wife. I'm going to send my wife after you. She's going to be like, okay, Frank, which one's Frank? All right.
Yeah,
right?
it's okay. She can get with mine, and they can yell at me together.
For the voices of Dork, I feel like Shield and Dork both have very unique voices, and I've heard you say that Dork is a bit of what probably how you would have felt in your younger years, a bit more brash, a bit more I understand everything else going around. Does that make Shield current you, or is just the plot and the situations that happen around Dork your voice?
Oh man.
And
Um,
I obviously don't want you to give away anything you can't,
no, no, no,
but
no, no, no. It's
yeah,
okay. It's just when people ask interesting questions that I haven't necessarily answered myself,
fair.
I have to think about it and go like, oh yeah, that's. I mean, I don't want to give a canned answer. That's just BS. But
Right.
um, Dork is definitely. I try to relate who I was at like that 20, that coming like out of into and out of college at the same time, where
Hmm.
your world is no longer protected and you're sort of just coming into your own and you're coming into a bigger world you don't quite understand.
Yeah.
That's how I take Dork. And that's basically me coming out of that phase of my life and
Yeah.
going like, whoa, I thought I kind of know and I'm going to act like I know everything, but clearly don't know anything
Yeah.
yet. And I think that's most of youth. I think that's most of people that go through life is that's just part of the struggle of being human, right? So I think it's relatable. So you can make something up fantastic and all crazy and half dwarf, half orc, but it's relatable in a certain way. So I write him towards that person I know I was.
Hmm.
He doesn't make all the same decisions and stuff, but also that angsty sort of like that underlying like at any time I could break a chair over somebody's head. Um, I'll tell you that I'm a nice guy,
Yeah.
but I'm also like I will sponge as much as I can, and then
Hmm.
I have a threshold like everybody else, and it's happened like 3 or 4 times in my life,
Hmm.
and then I've done something like go outside, take a chair, and destroy it, and I go, whoa, did not know I had that in me. And
Yeah.
it doesn't happen very often. And then I try to remember, well, what are my actual triggers? And it's all just compounded interest.
Yeah.
And so I figured out a way to not have to do that and where all of that stuff is dispelled before. But before I used to take it all in. I used to sponge, 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 not talk about it, not deal with it, not act on it. And then it would turn into this like just explosion. And so I use that going like, oh yeah, young Brett didn't know much about emotions. And so having this sort of like back and forth, like, oh, there's real there's real possibility of not dealing with your anger. There are anger issues for people that I know of to this day who I go, oh, you're a full functioning adult. And all of a sudden you're acting like this. Whoa, you're not in control of this at all. And
Yeah.
those are people like my age. And so it's just an
100%.
interesting, yeah, it's just an interesting take on humanity that still happens to this day. So it's all interpretation of what I see in the world and then turning it into a fun story, you know. I think it's
Yeah.
relatable. At least I think it's relatable. But
Yeah. I definitely think it's relatable. I think the human experience is fascinating if you're able to step back and kind of just watch people work. I think it's the same depending on I mean, regardless of the country, religion, political lines. I always feel like the actual human experience is quite similar around. And I think that, I mean, I think I know that it was very intentional to have Dork kind of recoil at the idea of intense violence, even when he is the one, sort of doing it. And he may have had his hand forced in issue one, like you said, may have
mhm.
compounded to a point where, and I love your artistic choice to change the coloring in those action scenes when he literally sees red, the audience, the reader sees red, and having him work through that stuff. Um, am I gathering your take on these outbursts from from Dork's interpretation? Do you feel like uh, there is no real right way to? I mean, sorry, there is no real justified way to be this violent or be this sort of angry.
Well, that's interesting. So that is opinion. So even like asking me, like, is something justified? Right now in a civil society where my kids are fed and taken care of and they feel love, if you were to take that away from me, what are you prepared to defend yourself with, or your child, or your people, or your tribe, right?
Yeah.
So we have an understanding as a group. We're all going to be nice to each other, right? I'm going to
Yeah.
be nice to everybody.
Hmm.
But I've also seen places when I lived in Portugal. I've seen the opposite of that. I've seen the way people have to live and what they're prepared to do to keep on living or survive.
Yeah.
And there's a whole other set of rules and parameters and so it's all societal decisions that we make and we go, great, this is what we're all going to do. We're all cool, right? We're not walking around punching people in the face, right? But then you really read about William Wallace, not Mel Gibson's William Wallace, but
Right, right.
Braveheart. But that guy, he hated every single Englishman. So if there was an Englishman in a bar and he could hear the accent, he just walked up and stabbed the guy,
Oh my
and
gosh.
then he would get on his horse and take off.
Right.
You're like, and part of him is justified from the time, and part of it is like, well, that guy could have just been a farmer, and he's just like, hey man, you know. So, and it's the same thing. It's like I would go and visit Africa, and then you would meet people who have taken over farmlands from the white settlers,
Hmm.
and their interpretation of what happened is different than the white settlers who are two generations in farmers who didn't take the land but took them from, who kept the land from two generations before that, who
Yeah.
have nothing to do with any of that, and neither one of them are wrong or right. It's
Right.
just this interesting interpretation to, again, that human experience. And you go, yeah, it's really interesting when you really open up your ears to what people have to say. The human experience is so relatable, and again, it's the same thing that you were saying before. Most people just want the same stuff.
Yeah.
Wherever I go, it's the same thing. Everybody wants to be safe. Everybody wants to take care of their kids. Everybody wants to live a good life, be comfortable enough. And that's, if you have those basics things, everything else is sort of like, you know, interpretation on top of that. So,
Yeah. I just love this idea of that people are spending too much time trying to arbitrate what right and wrong is, as opposed to
yeah.
listening to the nuance of any given situation to kind of find, a solution or a compromise in that stuff. As someone who I believe, finds kinship with Dork, how do you sort of stop I won't even say the urge, I guess the pressure that even happens to him where it's like you have to pick a side. How do you sort of stay neutral in your world in all aspects? Because I feel like almost everything is divisive at this point, and not even talking politically, right? I feel like, a vanilla and chocolate ice cream, pick a side. If you like
Right, right,
if you
right.
like pancakes, you hate waffles, right? So you got to pick a
Right, right,
side.
right.
How do you stay on the even keel in a world that is constantly trying to pull you on in either direction?
I think that I have had to skate that line since middle school.
That's big.
So it's something that I've just, I had a very religious upbringing and a very liberal family, which is
Okay.
where a lot of this comes from. And then being the youngest child, sort of trying to make everybody try to get along, even though they never were truly going to get along, and seeing what
The
that
problem
does
solver.
to
The problem
people, right?
solver.
Yeah,
Yeah,
problem
look at
solver.
that. Really easy.
But seeing how that really, those divisive things destroying people in a way that you're like, if there's no reason for this to go like this, it's just you've decided that this is the way, and
Hmm.
and it's unbendable. It's not. And I go, no, life is like bamboo. It should be bendable. You should be water to the rock. Never be the rock. Always be the water. Figure out a way to interpret and then move around. And most people aren't malicious. Most people are not evil intented, So it's seeing the world through the lens of they're either not prepared to get that lesson yet, or their beliefs, they have not broken down their beliefs yet. So being angry at people, it's just like a bully. It has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with them.
Yeah.
So you learn it over time. Like I used to sit in the middle between the jocks and the nerds and the D&D people, and you try to skate through all of it because you're like, well, I want to learn a little bit about all these people. I like that person. I like that
Yeah.
individual. Why should I only be with these people? Why should I only hang out with these people and be identified by that? And little things like I remember one jock taking one of I used to help out the special needs kids in
Hmm.
PE class,
Right.
and I remember specifically one one jock picking up one of the kids, and I'm not gonna cry because this still affects me to this day. He picked
Yeah.
him up and he threw him in the trash can,
Oh my God.
and
Oh wow.
and I helped get him out, and I turned to that jock, and I knew I was gonna get the shit kicked out of me, um, and it didn't matter. I was so angry that somebody would do something like that to sorry,
No, no, no.
do
Yeah, that level of
do something like
dehumanization.
that to somebody who can't, you know.
Yeah,
Um, but it wasn't just me. Once somebody else saw me, another four people came up,
look at
and it
that.
wasn't just me.
Yeah,
And I don't forget that. That's a big part of
yeah.
doing stuff like that. So you can edit all this shit
No,
out.
no, this is
but
fantastic because I do believe
but those
that
things are really important.
I believe that that's true, and I also believe that sometimes it does take the first person stepping up for other people too, and it doesn't have to be, like you said, you're not solving world hunger, but in one
Yeah.
moment you're trying to humanize someone who is just unfairly dehumanized, and I
Mm.
think that that is a slippery slope in general, right? This continuing nature of dehumanizing the other, whether it be, like I said, politically, religiously, just everybody else is the other. The more you start seeing them as less than human, it kind of gives you a permission structure to say and do horrible things, and we end up losing that
Or just turn
kinship,
away.
or just
Or
turn,
just turn away.
which it could be as bad, that apathy,
Yeah.
right, where you're just
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
even paying attention at all. So something that I say in almost all these episodes is that the reason why I gravitated towards comics, I also grew up Roman Catholic, and after a while, it just wasn't really gelling with stuff. I was in the military, so some of that stuff wasn't necessarily clicking for me
Right.
as to like what both sides I would have been telling at the time. And I just found comic books to be incredibly aspirational, inspirational, and it's not the heroes that I get that inspiration from, but it's the actual regular creators, the humans on this earth, like yourself, who are going through the same things that we are going through and are choosing to dice out the little bit of hope, optimism, even a different perspective that they have. I've seen you go to great lengths to help people improve their drawing. With a book like this, you're finding the people in the gutter that aren't necessarily on one side or the other, and may feel dehumanized, right? Because they're being told by their parents that they have to pick a side, and told by their partner that they have to pick a side, and told by the TV that they have to pick a side. There is a level of altruism in your work that I just feel, I don't know if it's intentional, but it just screams to me that it's just coming from the heart. It screams to me that this is something that, while you may not be trying to ferry the wayward souls of the world, people are gravitating towards your work because of the heart that beats in it. Is it hard to be that vulnerable when you've been a cog in the wheel sometimes, right? And so if the machine breaks down, it's like, well, I'm here to do this job, part of it.
Right.
Whereas you have like now you are in charge of this ship, you are a captain of this ship. Is it hard to be as vulnerable, or is it even worth it to not be?
Um, it's definitely worth it to be vulnerable because I think that that's part of the creative experience for me is I think when you think too commercially, I think is when you just get everything else, which is fine. But to me, this is important to me, and I want it to remain important to me. So having it be that when I'm sitting down writing, I'm not dealing with other people. So I don't have to think about them when I'm writing those things. It has
Yeah,
to just ring true. I think what's going to be hard for me is meeting other people because obviously just talking to you guys, I got emotional. And I remember like that it's just who I am. Like
yeah,
it's just that I wear it on the sleeve. Um, so I think when I meet people and they get emotion, I will be triggered by that,
right.
or thinking about these things. But when I'm in my own office and I'm writing this stuff, I think about like what's important to me and I write that down. But it doesn't feel like, ooh, I'm doing something that nobody else is doing or I'm doing something special. It's just it has to work for what I think I want to say, right?
Yeah,
I don't want to I don't want to make something that doesn't have something to say. And sometimes it's going to say big, important things. And sometimes it's going to be, this time I just want to make people laugh, because I think that's just as healthy and just as important in people's life is
yeah,
to laugh and release that. I learned that as a teacher. I learned that every kid will retain the knowledge I have to give them if they're
hmm,
laughing in the process. They'll
interesting.
remember all of those lessons. They'll remember all the stuff. You can get away with a lot more things with humor and people will listen to what you say. If you're making them laugh, it retains way better than if you're like, this is what I
Yeah.
think comics should be like, and this is what I think life should be like. You're like, nah, I turn off, right? Boop.
Yeah.
The switch goes off. I'm like, whatever. But if you make me laugh, I'll listen to your entire setup. I'll listen to your joke. I'll listen to the after. I'll go, well, it's funny. Nice. And then you take it home with it. You go, oh, that meant something. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I think there's something for both of those things. Like it has to ring true, but yeah, I try to do it through humor because also that's life too. Like I've gotten beat up, I've been kicked in the crotch, I've been made fun of, I've been pushed around and punched.
Yeah.
But you have to laugh. I go into the office and go, well, I can either sit there and get into cynicism, or I can try to make my kids laugh or my wife laugh or make myself laugh, and that sort of bridges that gap between letting it get too far down the road of like, woe is me, and like, okay, yeah, that sucked. All right. And then I
Yeah.
write a scene with them in it, and I go, fine, I'm going to write you in it. Poopy butthole. Yeah, you're
Immortalized
going to be
forever.
bad in my comic. Yeah.
No, that's perfect. I am a substitute teacher here in Florida, and
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
it's you got to come up with different ways to disseminate that sort of information. And like you said, if you're able to get them, lull them in a false sense of security with humor, usually they are more adaptive. I'm kind of smiling in my head because I think just purely based on math, there is not a 0% chance that somebody cut school to get dork. Number one. So what an interesting sort of full circle.
I
It's
can't
really
wait to
interesting
to
idea.
interview them 20
Yeah,
years from now about
yeah.
their hit comic and go, so
Then like I was
tell
walking
me a
down the
little
street,
bit
the
about
cops
yourself.
showed up, they put me. It was this whole thing. It was this whole thing. I feel like I
Yeah.
monopolized some of this time. Frank, do you got something you'd like to ask?
Um, so I do just want to say real quick, your story about, where you get a little emotional standing up for the special needs kid. So I have an autistic child, and as he gets older, I just really hope that there are more people like you around
Yeah.
him than not.
I hope they can find their people. I hope
Yeah.
so. I sent my kids to a school specifically where half the school is special needs and half is not, because I thought it
Oh
was
wow.
really important for them to understand that people have things that they have to deal with, and everybody has a mountain to climb. And it could be
Hmm.
physical, it could be mental, it could be financial. There's so many things that you have to understand what people go through in this world, and it makes you a more rounded person overall. So I hope that your child can find that, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's very
Thank you.
important, Frank. Yeah.
Thank you. So now I'm going to do a very awkward transition. We talk about
Non
climb,
sequiturs, let's do it.
yes.
Okay.
So you talk about climbing a mountain. So usually you don't want to do it yourself. You want to have people with you. So it seems like in your comics work you have the same people with you most of the time, the same colorist, the same letterer. Is that by design?
Um, yes and no. So actually, I did go out and I did a bunch of tests and I did try out a bunch of other people. And all of them were good and nice people. But because I had already worked so well with this group, and I knew that I wanted to work with Jean at least for the little bit. I know he's on Lobo, so he's like kicking butt on a lot of things, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he luckily I got some of his time. But with Nate, I knew it was Nate. I think Nate is amazing. He did a great logo, and we understand each other's world, and we both come from the same arena of like we want to make it as good as we can, and quality over quantity sort of approach.
Mhm.
So I knew that that was something that I needed, and I needed somebody to sort of, tell me when I'm screwing up. And we had a good enough relationship where he can kind of say like, you should add this or you should do that. So there was an appreciation for what he brought to the table as well. So it kind of all just worked out perfectly, that they could hop on board and get this train a moving. So yeah, it was very important to me. So people you work with is very important. And
Yeah.
because I come from animation, I don't treat it like comics. Like a lot of comic people, they're all separate.
Mhm.
So your writer is separate, and then they do the script and they turn it in, and then you don't talk to the artist, and then the artist does a portion, turns it in, and then they turn it into the colorist, and then you have these four chunks of separation, and the editor is the byline, right?
Mhm.
But to me, in animation is you're talking to the person who's going to build it. You're talking to the texture artist. You're talking to the animator. You're talking to the writer. You're talking to the producer. And so to me, I treat it like that. And so I know more about Nate. I went out on my own and I found what Jean likes and I found the music that he makes on the side and I bought some. I was like, I'm gonna listen to your music as I ink this. And I
Yeah,
so to me it feels more important to me because also I want to do a better job for the people I'm working with.
yeah,
It makes me feel like I want to pay attention to this. If I want them to pay attention to it, I better lead by example first. And I believe that. And I've had art directors that are suck, and I've had art directors that are great. And so I always try to listen to the ones on both sides. Like, this is what I didn't like about this person, but what I really liked about this art director is they made me feel like I could solve the problem my way and that I was appreciated. So doing that is very important to me too. So I'm the one leading the boat, but I want them to feel like they're a part of it too.
So to call back to SOCOM that you helped make, you have your squad and you're gonna, stick with
That's
them.
right. Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. He had mentioned Siphon Filter earlier, and I remember I got that like a weird copy of it from like some store because they had hacked my PlayStation or something like that, and
Okay.
because at the time it was hard to get because they were putting it off of shelves because you could seemingly taser someone and then they would catch fire or something like that. It was
Yeah, I
controversies.
remember that.
there was all these there was all these
You can keep doing it.
controversies.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
would
yeah.
get
If,
over
if
money.
you just did it for long enough, they would just catch fire. And I was young. I was like, oh my god, this is pretty cool. Um, but I love that again. Even though he's screaming it here, it's never really violence for violence sake in this book that you're writing in general. And I like that because I find oftentimes there is that comics can be uneven where you'll get through a issue of exposition, you can kind of get through an issue of action, or even like when it comes to events, like there's really hard to like wrap stuff up. I know you say you have this sort of envisioned, where you're at 15, 20 issues. Where do you have this in your head, sort of dork?
In my head, I've kind of gotten to issue 20.
Okay,
Like
cool, cool,
I've
cool.
not beaten everything out, but I have
Yeah,
a Google Keep that sort of goes, oh, this is going to happen in this issue and this one. And then as I go, I'm sort of fleshing out. And so something will come up and I'll have a scene in my head. And then
yeah,
I go to that Google Keep and I say, okay, when issue 9, this has got to happen.
yeah,
Because that's also going to lead to like issue 11 and 12, right? So there's
yeah.
always this like byline through everything. So yeah, there's and again, because I'm a fan of comics, those are the ones that I think all comics are really fun, but the
Hmm.
ones that really speak to me are the ones that I feel are going somewhere and the violence is a little bit more purposeful.
Hmm.
Even if it's for a joke, it's not just violence for the sake of a violent act, for
Hmm.
the sake of being a violent act. It's like, oh, there needs to be something. It either needs to be service of the story, or it's funny, and then you have a fine line between what's funny and then what's just grotesque funny. And so
Yeah.
I have my own personal line that I'll write and go, that doesn't fit it, and I have to go kick that scene out. That go back to rewrites. Um, and that's the beauty of it. When you're kind of working it on your own, you can do that really easily and go, that just doesn't feel right. That doesn't ring true to what I'm trying to say or do like that. So I think without violence, we don't like because my kids were asking me that and was like, well, in video games, there's always 99% of video games have violence in some way,
Hmm.
right? It's either story service or it's just you're going out there and playing Fortnite and killing everybody up.
Yeah. As soon
It's
as you
like, oh,
drop, you drop out
yeah,
of the
it's like,
sky and just start
yeah,
killing people.
but if a lot of the games that don't have that, it's a completely different set of rules and system and gameplay wise. And so yeah, so the violence for me I is very much on purpose where I want it to be treated. There's consequences to actions. There's a sense of weight to it, and it's not just violence for violence sake. So not taking away from those people who like that stuff, but for me, that's it was very much on purpose.
I can dig it.
I think one thing I took away from like I Hate Fairyland is I think there's a sharp contrast by how that series depicts violence as compared to Dark. And one thing I really got from I Hate Fairyland's violence is a very kind of like early Nickelodeon sort of feel, like Ren and Stimpy, Invader Zim, Rocko's Modern Life, all those classic shows. Were they like quite influential to you? Get when you were younger or anything?
Um, I would say Invader Zim was, but not for any violence. I thought it was really funny.
It was.
Okay, yeah,
It
Like
was
Invader
hilarious.
Zim was funny to me. So, Gurr was hilarious and
yeah.
like all the silly, stupid stuff. Like that stuff cracked me up. So yeah, that was a big influence for me. Ren and Stimpy was again really funny. I know that that's what we were trying to going for with I Hate Fairyland.
Hmm.
Um, but this one, I would say more Calvin and Hobbes,
I
and I
love
don't
Calvin
mean
Hobbes.
that,
Mm,
but there's an amount of humor, thoughtful prose,
Yeah,
as well as violence, but of course mine is way more violent. But
yeah,
there's a little bit of that play of action along with thoughts and jokes, and it's just with my eye of fantasy, which is you can't really have Lord of the Rings, all that kind of stuff without some higher stakes things going on and some stuff. So it's just kind of like that mixture of all that kind of stuff. So I would agree with you. There are some things, but a lot of that stuff, it was the humor. It wasn't like the style or like the evil stuff. It is like Rick and Morty too.
yeah.
There's I don't really interpret the world the same way, but some of the jokes are so smart, funny that I'm like, oh, spot on, no notes. That was so awesome. And it's on multiple layers, right? So somebody who doesn't understand the reference will still laugh at it for this part of the joke. And
hmm
then somebody who understands the reference or they're a little bit more nerdy on the science side, they'll understand this and this. And so it's
yeah,
this
Mm.
layered approach that is that I really enjoy in the stuff that I take in and listen to. So
yeah. Calvin and Hobbes is extremely efficient with its structure. Like you
oh,
were just saying, it could be incredibly tight, but you will get everything he wants to give you and more. So it's really cool that you are able to pull inspiration at all from that because I do think it's almost underrated in its ability to get what it needs to get across each and every time, especially the character beats and all that stuff.
I think you're younger than I am, so it's probably underrated for you. In my age group,
Yes.
it is like it was the right amount of everybody loved it. Everybody talks about it. So as the
Awesome.
generations go, you kind of lose that because there's no more comic strips, there's no newspapers, all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But back in my day, that was it. There was no other pinnacle than Calvin and Hobbes. So
Yeah, I'm close in age to you, and I agree. That
yeah,
was like the be all end all.
yeah,
The Beatles.
yeah,
Calvin Hobbes
pretty
to the
much.
Beatles. I was curious. I feel like this is such a monumental, rise here, especially with Dork. And I was just curious in general. Does anything beat you doing your own stuff? Like, uh,
Oh.
do you lose the novelty of like a hey, we want you on Batman or Spider-Man? Like, if you've created your own Spider-Man or if you've created your own Batman, do you still have those sort of pipe dreams?
Yeah, I like pipe dreams. Yeah, yeah. It's not gonna happen, Brett. That's a pipe dream. I
Yeah,
like that even more.
yeah.
I
Who's
do,
this Brett Bean guy?
Chomp. What a hack. That's all I did was I wrote the image the other day. It says like because it was my own cover.
Yeah.
And I was like, that guy's a hack, but approved, whatever. Um,
Uh,
so I think that yeah, I have a lot of bucket list items. I have a lot of things that I really like. I just kind of announced that I did a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cover. They were a huge
ooh.
influence when I was a kid, so that just got announced for issue number 18.
I
Yeah.
So
saw that
there
on
are
Facebook. That looked
yeah,
very
so
cool.
oh, thank you very much. So I have a lot of I'm a nerd first and foremost before a creator myself. So I have a lot of things. I even try to manifest like aliens, Predator, Star Wars. Let me know when you want to do something. Let me do a cover. Let me play in your world.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things, Batman and Spider, and they're all on that list of like, oh, I would definitely like to be a part of, or at least a variant cover for a bunch of properties that I believe in, and if I can find the energy, that happy spot where you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is it. I've got plenty of those. Also, Jim Henson's Creature Shop, when they make puppet designs based off of my my character designs.
Your sketches and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's always amazing to see the artistry of them, and then you get the puppets, and then you get the puppeteers, and they got the voice and everything. You're just like, holy crap, I was a part of this. This is
Yeah.
amazing. Oh, young Brett, if you only could have known that you would be fine, and one day you'd be making puppet designs with Jim Henson's Creature Shop, that I wouldn't have believed him. It was like, who are you, old man? Get out of here. I don't believe you. I'll get back in my time machine.
Oh my gosh. It's amazing though because I do believe that there is just an I love creating for the like the simple novelty that it then exists where it didn't. Like now you have something that's living and breathing, and if you put a lot of energy into it, I feel like that energy still remains palpable. Years, that's the reason why you can still
Oh
pick
yeah.
up token stuff, right? Like that's
Yeah, yeah.
his passion is trapped in that work, and I think the reason why, like I said again, that people are able to gravitate towards stuff like Dork is similar. I think that your heart is on your sleeve in life, but also on your sleeve in this comic, and um, as someone who
You can't put my name in with token, please. Don't
no
ever
no
do that
no
again. I am off limits to somebody like that.
Fair. Hey, we all start
But
we all
continue. But I
yeah.
understand what you're saying.
Oh.
But I can't let you.
Fair.
But
I
thank you
just
though.
no 100%. I just thank you for being so vulnerable in this thing. I have heard a little bit of your take on, the idea that maybe certain artists might be at the point of kind of phoning it in. There's a humongous landscape. I'm not saying name names, but in any creative field, I hear music where I'm like, oh, this person just, put a bunch of ad libs together and the same
It's
beat I've
true.
heard a million times and kind of pushed it out and pushed it past the line. Is that something that you're conscious of? Like never phone it in? Do you ever feel yourself kind of losing steam and feel like I'll approach this project when I'm inspired, or I only take on projects that will inspire me?
No, I mean, you work really hard so you can eventually say no. That was the first lesson that I learned. Is
That's a
like
pretty badass line.
if you work hard enough, you can say no, and that's where you want to be, you know. So I only say yes to projects that I believe in, but I'd also like I've been on the other end. I've been on the
Mhm.
other end where I couldn't make a house payment, where I
Yeah.
didn't know where the money was coming from. Damn sure I say yes. I go, great,
Hmm.
I'll find the energy. I'll find the thing because I need to get paid.
Yeah.
So I can't behoove anybody who phones it in. I can't behoove anybody. You just find the stuff that speaks to you. And I don't worry about anybody else's interpretation of the world because I also don't know their experience. I don't know if their mom is in trouble and they need to take that extra paycheck and because that's going to help mom find a nursing care situation or some kid you have no idea. So I don't try to interpret other people's lives in that way. It's just not my place. Again, it's all just opinions anyway. I walk
Yeah.
around and I say, well, this is what I think is right and wrong. It's just fucking bullshit opinion anyway. So
Yeah.
I'm no better than anybody else walking around. So
Yeah.
why should I interpret what their life is?
Right.
That's not my place. I'm just trying to do the best that I can to where I get to put my head on my pillow at night and sleep
Yeah.
and let everybody else do their things. My job's not to interpret their life. I just try to make something that speaks to me. That's all. And I am lucky and fortunate right now that people want to go along for that journey, and that's amazing, lucky experience to be able to feel that and go, oh, it's not just me. Oh, I can keep the lights on in another couple of days. Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's do this thing. Yeah. So it's a great opportunity.
Awesome. Guys, you got anything else for Mr. Bean here? And I just said, don't call me
Um,
Mr. Bean earlier.
You called me Mr. How
I just
you
said
know
it
what?
earlier.
That guy
I'm
has
out of control.
never paid me
Out of
for my
control.
name.
You see?
I get no royalties. Rowan
Absolutely
Atkinson, we got to
ridiculous.
talk.
Yes.
I,
Yes.
I guess I just want to sort of say, similar to what Frank said earlier, how I really appreciate your sincerity, in talking to us. And your story earlier almost made me a bit emotional because I'm someone who's suffered with a lot of like physical difficulties throughout my life, like, in and out of hospitals. So like comic books were like a big thing for me, like growing up, like they really inspired me. Like sounds a bit cliche, but I think like the superheroes, like Iron Man, Captain America, they sort of inspired me to sort of like better myself, and like try hard. So I think like to have someone with such a genuine voice in this space and see the success you're having now is just like proves that like the industry to me is in a really healthy place and filled with great people, you know?
Jack, I agree with you. I remember growing up and getting a lot of I think the only reason I think a big reason of who I am, but also when I stood up to that guy is from the comics that I read.
Mm,
It's like you get moments in your life where you're like, I should stand up and say something. And when you read, you take that in, whether it be music, whether it be movies, whether it be comic books or regular books, whatever is your jam. When you read people that are heroic to you or that you can look
mm,
up to and go, oh, that inspires me to maybe be a little bit better, climb a little bit higher, accept where life is now, and then how do I make a better situation for myself? I agree with you, Jack. I felt that way from all the comics that I read too. So 100% agree with you. And I didn't even think about it because I'm just trying to make a book I believe in. But if one day somebody can say that they helped somebody out because of something that I wrote, that would be a pretty amazing experience. So, yeah.
cool.
Yeah. I
Thanks,
I
Jack.
I think you are on that road. Obviously, your work has affected us. That's why we are so excited to talk to you today. And I applaud all the success that I know is going to come your way. You're going to MegaCon, correct?
I am going to be at MegaCon. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm in Florida, so most likely I'll be there. I'll see if I can
Okay. Awesome.
track you down and stuff. But before we
That
wrap
doesn't
this
sound
up,
ominous at all, George. No,
yeah,
absolutely.
what's the Mr. Bean of it all?
I was in the military. I'm going to be tracking you down, just to let you know.
Rowan Atkinson says hello.
Yeah, this is from Mr. Bean. Is there anything that you would like to plug before we wrap things up here?
No, I think my world is so amazingly fortunate that I like. Thank you very much for the experience and talking to you guys. It was very nice to meet all of you, and yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I hope you're no stranger. I hope we get you back over again, especially when I know we'll have very strong emotional reactions to how things play out in Dork. I know you're holding on to some pretty stellar, character beats and story moments. You can tell from the edge of Dork number one that there's something monumental on the other side of this. So, again, from all of us to you. Thank you so much for putting your passions into this. Thank you for being a genuine person in a world that is in desperate need of being a genuine person. And I think that your not only does your work speak for itself, and the success obviously speaks for itself, but I do think that um, optimism is more contagious than people give it credit for being. And I think that you are going to be patient zero for this next generation, especially an image of people catching that optimism, wanting to bet on themselves, wanting to have a good tribe of people around them. And, a rising tide raises all ships. So if you can keep that energy and you can keep that love and you can keep, the heart moving forward, can't be beat. You end up being unstoppable. So thank you so much for being a part of
Thank you.
comics in general. Thank you for being part of this conversation, and I hope that we're able to speak to you soon.
Yeah, it would be excellent. Thank you very much, Jack, George, Frank. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
Thank you.